Hi everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Politics and Ice Cream.
We're gonna be going through the 3 reasons
why
why
you
you should not vote for Trudeau. Hang on, let me look at my notes.
Okay, I just want to point out that not only did I get caramel and chocolate, I got
Oh, wow.
caramel and chocolate swirl.
She did good. Okay guys, so the first reason is that he's an economic failure. A lot of people don't know that we're actually paying more in our interest payments than on our military, which is kind of crazy. So an easy way to think about it is like our credit card. So if you have a credit card, which I'm sure you do if you're watching this video, or you'll probably get one day, if you don't pay it off, you have to pay interest payments. And those interest payments will go up. And it's the same thing on a national scale. So we owe all these countries debt because Trudeau has done a lot of foreign spending. And we have to pay them back with interest. And guess where those payments come out of?
I don't even want
Usually your right or your left pocket. 81% of middle-class families, their federal tax burden went up from 2015, since 2015. So really, we're not better off with under Trudeau.
In fact, do you want to know what he's eliminating?
I do.
So the only thing that he's actually eliminated is tax credits. He's eliminated the children's fitness tax credit, the public transit tax credits, and the income splitting tax credit. He is an economic disaster, and let's move on to point 2, which is he is an environmental flop.
Now the Liberals, they love to go on and on about climate change, right? Am I right?
You're
Can
right,
I hear an
Ellen.
amen?
You're right. And I have to ask, because that's their number one issue, what are they doing?
And that's a fair question. The truth is that they've kept a few promises. One of those was marijuana. The second was the carbon tax.
What does marijuana have to do with climate change?
Okay, nothing. Oh God, give me more. They've essentially failed to get resources to market. We all know that they've failed to build the Trans Mountain Pipeline, which has really left Alberta in a huge crisis. Unemployment is on the rise, especially in Calgary. And that's a tragedy. But the biggest tragedy is that we are the cleanest, greenest energy producers in the world, and we are martyring ourselves for the sake of virtue signaling on an international stage. Premier Kenney was just at the opening of the TransAlta Pioneer Pipeline in Edmonton, and he was saying that that pipeline is reducing Alberta's emissions by 50%.
That's half of 100.
That's crazy. That's true. For all the talk, the bad mouthing that pipelines get, the Fraser Institute actually reported that they are the safest way of transporting oil, which is something you never really hear about simply because it's politically incorrect. One more really cool fast fact is that 99% of pipeline occurrences from 2003 to 2013 did not damage the environment.
At all. Okay, so now I want to move on to one promise that the Liberals actually did keep. The carbon tax. So everybody probably knows that we implemented the carbon tax a couple years ago, and boy has it worked. In completely the wrong way. The carbon tax is not working in the way the Liberals want, because look at it this way. Each one of us has a job that we have to get to every day. The carbon tax is not keeping us from getting into our cars and driving to our job, which is crazy considering the number of people it's affecting.
The Liberals love to point to BC as an example of a good implementation of the carbon tax, but the Toronto Sun just reported that BC's emissions have actually gone up by 2.4% in the last 3 years. Meaning the carbon tax didn't help at all. This is in strong contrast to what the Conservatives are doing, which is largely centered around green initiatives, such as promoting small business, especially businesses that do produce green tech and research green tech. And by the way, of course, that is going to grow the economy. When we see businesses grow, we see more jobs entering the economy as they hire more people. And they're also looking at global solutions because Canada is only one very small piece of the amount of emissions that we make up, so in 1.6% of global emissions.
In fact, if we're talking about CO2, China is by far the most at 30%, and next is the US at 15%.
That's right. So we really do have to look at a global solution, which is not what the Liberals are doing. And by the way, when it comes to treating our earth properly, it's often been the Conservatives leading the charge. It was the Conservatives who banned CFCs under Brian Mulroney. It was them who introduced the Clean Air Act in 2006, and it is that party that is calling for the ending of raw sewage dumps into the St. Lawrence River.
And so what we can see is that Conservatives are focusing on a more tangible solution while the Liberals just want to raise your taxes. Let's move on to point 3, and one of the most important when considering this upcoming election.
And that is, guys, that he's an active discriminator. And this is gonna blow y'all's minds because you're gonna be like, whoa, Trudeau's so inclusive. What the heck are these girls talking about?
I mean, if you've ever listened to any portion of any debate or even just any segment of Trudeau talking, you will have heard him talk about diversity.
For all his talk of diversity, Mr. Trudeau values only one kind of Canadian. He absolutely persecutes other candidates for not being inclusive. When it turns out that he's said and done things in the past that haven't been so inclusive himself.
You mean like blackface? So I was watching the debate just last week, and I noticed how Mr. Trudeau was attacking Scheer on his personal belief of abortion.
Talk about smearing.
Yeah, in fact, Andrew Scheer wasn't even saying that the Conservatives would do anything about an issue that's already been settled. He was simply stating that he had a personal view on the issue, which Trudeau took issue with.
And something that a lot of people have forgotten about is the summer jobs grant. The Liberals canceled that program for people who wouldn't sign an attestation that they believed in abortion rights and transgender rights, whatever they interpret that to mean. So of course a lot of religious organizations could not sign this, and so they just didn't get the money anymore. And that's not okay, because what essentially our Prime Minister is saying is that there is one kind of Canadian that's acceptable now.
And one kind of thought and one kind of belief.
Yeah. And I don't care where you stand on these issues. Can we not just stand up together and say, this is wrong? Because quite frankly, it's not just one whacked up group of people that believes this. This is many religions. This is many millions of people that believe these things.
For a leader to be telling millions of people that their private moral persuasions are wrong is reminiscent of some other countries, but certainly not our beautiful, strong, and most importantly, free Canada. Okay guys, we are done our video.
And our ice cream. And we just wanted to let you guys know that in no way did we mean to be offensive.
Yes we did.
Oh yeah, that's true. Because being offensive is okay.